There's something uniquely terrifying about watching two people plan your eviction from a house they don't own. And there's something almost beautiful about knowing they're about to discover the hard way that assumptions can be financially devastating. Let me tell you about the worst Tuesday of my husband's life. Tuesday evening, November 9th, 7:42 p.m. I'm in my grandmother's kitchen. The kitchen I inherited along with every other square inch of this 1920s craftsman in Portland's Laurelhurst neighborhood. Hold on just a moment. Drop a comment letting us know what part of the world you're watching from. And if this tale has captured your attention, hit that subscribe button now, because what I have lined up for tomorrow's episode will absolutely blow your mind. When my husband Nathaniel walks through the front door with his affair partner on his arm like they're arriving at a cocktail party. Not sneaking in. Not guilty. Just bold as brass, her hand tucked into his elbow, both of them wearing matching expressions of determined righteousness. Agnes Sinclair, his executive assistant at the marketing firm, the woman who's been answering his late-night calls and joining his weekend strategy sessions for the past 8 months. She's carrying a Pottery Barn catalog. That detail will haunt me for days. Marianne, Nathaniel says, using that calm, reasonable tone he reserves for difficult clients and apparently for destroying marriages. We need to have an honest conversation. All three of us. All three of us. Like this is a business negotiation. Like Agnes has voting rights in my marriage. I'm standing at the vintage farmhouse sink, my grandmother's sink, washing dishes in the house my grandmother Christy left me 5 years ago when she passed. The house Nathaniel has been telling everyone he bought. The house he's been accepting congratulations for providing. The house that has my name, Marianne Christy Howard, on every single legal document, loan paper, and utility bill. But I don't say any of that yet. Instead, I dry my hands on the dish towel, the one embroidered with my grandmother's initials, and I turn to face them. An honest conversation, I repeat. That's interesting timing, Nathaniel. What happened to honesty 8 months ago? Agnes has the decency to look uncomfortable for about 3 seconds. Then she lifts her chin, squaring her shoulders like she's about to deliver a presentation. We didn't plan this, Marianne. Sometimes things just happen when two people connect on a deeper level. A deeper level? My husband of 9 years and his 26-year-old assistant connected on a deeper level, presumably somewhere between the hotel rooms on Route 26 and the wine bars in the Pearl District, where they thought no one would recognize them. Here's the situation, Nathaniel says. And I can tell he's rehearsed this. He's probably practiced in the mirror, maybe even run it by Agnes for feedback. Agnes and I are in love. We've been trying to figure out how to handle this without hurting anyone, but there's no easy way. So we've decided to be direct. Direct, that's one word for it. Another word might be cruel, or delusional, or legally fascinating. We're giving you 24 hours, Agnes adds, and the audacity of that "we" nearly makes me laugh. 24 hours to pack your essentials and find somewhere else to stay. We'll give you time to figure out long-term arrangements, of course, but Nathaniel and I need to start our life together, and this house, this space, it needs to be ours. This house, this space, it needs to be theirs. I look at Agnes Sinclair, standing in my grandmother's entryway with her Pottery Barn catalog and her designer handbag and her complete confidence that she's about to move into Nathaniel's beautiful historic home, the home she's probably already photographed for her Instagram aesthetic, the home she's undoubtedly told her friends about, the successful older man's house she's moving into. 24 hours, I say slowly, to leave this house. I know it's fast, Nathaniel says, and he actually has the nerve to look sympathetic. But dragging this out would be worse for everyone. Clean break, Marianne. You can stay with your sister Lucy while you figure things out. I'll make sure you're financially stable during the transition. He'll make sure I'm financially stable. How generous. What Nathaniel doesn't know, what Agnes definitely doesn't know, what neither of these absolute fools has bothered to check, is that this house isn't his to give away. The deed sitting in my filing cabinet upstairs, the deed that's been there since my grandmother's estate settled 5 years ago, has exactly one name on it: Marianne Christy Howard, not Nathaniel Howard. Not Mr. and Mrs. Howard, just me. The mortgage he's been claiming to pay? Doesn't exist. Grandmother owned it free and clear. The property taxes he's been bragging about covering? I've been paying them quarterly from my separate account, the account he never bothered to ask about because he assumed all our money was joint. I've been funding this house entirely on my own while he funneled his income into God knows what. Probably hotel rooms and jewelry for Agnes, but I don't say any of this. Not yet. Instead, I say, can I ask what your timeline looks like? I mean, logistically? Agnes's face brightens like I've just asked her to explain her favorite topic, which I suppose I have. Well, we've been planning this for a few weeks now. I've already given notice on my apartment. My lease ends Friday. Nathaniel's been so generous about letting me store some boxes in the garage already. My garage. She's been storing boxes in my garage? I make a mental note to have those removed and donated before Friday. Let her wonder where her precious belongings went. And we thought, Nathaniel continues, that this weekend we could start fresh. New beginning, you know? Agnes has some really great ideas for updating the place. Nothing major right away, but fresh paint, new furniture, maybe open up that wall between the kitchen and dining room. The wall between my grandmother's kitchen and dining room. The original 1920s craftsmanship that's part of what makes this house historically registered. I've been collecting inspiration on Pinterest, Agnes says, pulling out her phone with the enthusiasm of someone on HGTV. Look, I'm thinking we go with this modern farmhouse aesthetic. White shiplap, open shelving, maybe knock out those upper cabinets to make it feel more spacious. She's showing me Pinterest boards for my house. My grandmother's cabinets that she refinished herself in 1987, the ones that still smell like lemon oil and contain her handwritten recipe cards. That's very thorough, I say, and I mean it. Agnes has been thorough. She's planned this takeover down to the throw pillows. What Agnes hasn't been thorough about is basic property law, or checking public records, which would have shown her in 30 seconds that Nathaniel's name appears nowhere on this deed. See, here's what I've known for exactly 3 weeks. Ever since my sister Lucy called me from her law office with a voice tight with controlled fury. Marianne, I need you to come down here. Now, don't tell Nathaniel. Lucy works in property law. Specifically, she handles real estate fraud cases. And 3 weeks ago, a colleague of hers flagged something interesting. An attempted deed transfer inquiry on my property. Not filed yet, but in process. Someone had been consulting with a lawyer about removing a spouse's name from a deed and claiming sole ownership based on financial contribution and primary residence maintenance. That someone was Nathaniel. My husband had spent 6 months consulting with a real estate attorney about how to legally steal my house. The house I inherited, the house that's never had his name on any ownership documents. He'd been building a case, collecting evidence of his financial contributions, documenting his property improvements, creating a paper trail that would support his claim that he was the true owner, regardless of whose name was on the deed. The affair wasn't spontaneous passion. It was part of an exit strategy. Agnes wasn't just his mistress. She was his motivation for finally pulling the trigger on a plan he'd been developing for months. When Lucy showed me those documents 3 weeks ago, I wanted to confront Nathaniel immediately. Rage at him. Throw him out that very night, but Lucy stopped me. If you confront him now, he'll get defensive and lawyer up immediately. Let him make his move. Let him think he's winning. The more confident he gets, the more mistakes he'll make. And when he finally shows his hand, we'll have him on attempted fraud, not just marital infidelity. So I waited. I've been waiting for 3 weeks, watching Nathaniel grow bolder, watching him whisper into his phone with Agnes, watching him measure my grandmother's living room like he was planning renovations. I've been playing the oblivious wife while documenting every conversation, every lie, every moment of his arrogance. And now, finally, he's given me the ultimatum I've been waiting for. The moment where his attempted theft becomes undeniable. While Nathaniel and Agnes stand in my entryway discussing paint colors and furniture arrangements, I'm thinking about the file sitting in Lucy's office. Creating and bringing this narrative to life required countless hours of dedicated work, So if you're enjoying shocking real-life stories, subscribe now. Your support truly makes all the difference. Now, let's continue with our story. Copies of forged signatures on refinancing applications that I never signed. Loan applications submitted in my name without my knowledge. Consultations with 3 different attorneys about community property rights and equitable distribution and adverse possession claims. Nathaniel Howard wasn't just cheating on me. He was trying to commit real estate fraud. And he was stupid enough to do it in a state with clear inheritance laws and a paper trail that Lucy's firm could follow like breadcrumbs. So, I say carefully, you need me out by tomorrow night so you can start your new life here. In this house. I know it sounds harsh, Nathaniel says. But honestly, Marianne, you've never really connected with this place anyway. You always said it felt like living in a museum. I did say that. Once. 5 years ago when we first moved in, and I was overwhelmed by the responsibility of maintaining my grandmother's legacy, before I learned to love every creaky floorboard and vintage fixture. Before I spent weekends learning how to care for original hardwood and period-appropriate landscaping, Nathaniel held on to that single comment for 5 years, waiting to use it against me. You'll be happier somewhere more modern, Agnes adds helpfully, somewhere that's really yours, somewhere that's really mine, as opposed to this place, which is literally, legally, entirely mine. The irony is so thick I could choke on it. Okay, I say simply. The word hangs in the air between us. Nathaniel and Agnes exchange glances, clearly expecting more resistance. Drama, tears, maybe some begging. Okay? Nathaniel repeats, suspicious. I'll need help with the packing, I continue, keeping my voice steady. There's a lot to sort through. 9 years of marriage, plus all of my grandmother's things that I've been storing. Can I have until Thursday instead of tomorrow? Just one extra day. I can see Nathaniel's shoulders relax. He was braced for a fight, and I'm giving him compliance. Thursday works, he says, magnanimous in his imagined victory. That's actually very reasonable of you, Marianne. Reasonable. I'm being reasonable about being evicted from my own house by my husband and his mistress. Agnes is practically glowing. I really appreciate your maturity about this, she says, and I think she actually believes she's being kind. A lot of women would make this so much harder than it needs to be. A lot of women don't own the house their husbands are trying to steal, I think. But instead I say, I just want everyone to be happy. You should call Lucy tonight, Nathaniel suggests. Maybe she can help you find a rental. Something temporary while you figure out your next steps. Lucy, my sister. The property lawyer who's currently building a case file that's going to bury him. That's a good idea, I agree. I'll call her right after you both leave. Actually, I add, as if the thought just occurred to me, those boxes Agnes stored in the garage. I should probably clear those out tomorrow to make room for my things while I'm packing. Where should I put them? Agnes waves her hand dismissively. Oh, just leave them. They're mostly books and winter clothes. Nothing urgent. Are you sure? I'd hate for anything to get damaged. It's fine, Nathaniel says. We'll sort it out this weekend. They have no idea those boxes will be gone by tomorrow afternoon, donated to Goodwill before Agnes can even ask about them. One less thing for her to feel settled about. After they're gone, Nathaniel heading to finish some work at the office, and Agnes presumably returning to her soon-to-be former apartment, I sit in my grandmother's kitchen and I don't cry. I don't scream. I don't throw things or drink wine or do any of the things that grieving wives do in movies. Instead, I open my laptop and I review the file Lucy sent me 3 weeks ago. Page after page of Nathaniel's attempted fraud, each document more damning than the last. Then I open a new document and I start typing. Not a divorce filing, not yet. Something better, a formal eviction notice for Nathaniel Howard, unauthorized occupant of 2847 Laurelhurst Drive, Portland, Oregon. Property owner, Marianne Christie Howard. See, here's what Agnes doesn't know while she's picking out paint swatches and planning her Instagram perfect life in her new home. Oregon is very specific about property rights. Inheritance property that's never been titled jointly remains separate property. Nathaniel has exactly zero legal claim to this house. None. Not after 9 years of marriage, not after whatever fictional contributions he thinks he's made. And here's what Nathaniel doesn't know while he's congratulating himself on his smooth manipulation. Attempting to fraudulently transfer property is a crime. Not just grounds for divorce, an actual crime. The kind that involves real legal consequences beyond just losing assets in a settlement. The kind that gets you fired from your job when your employer discovers you've been committing fraud. Wednesday morning. I wake up early and I do something I've been planning since Lucy first showed me those documents. I call a locksmith. I need all the locks changed on my house, I tell him. Today, if possible. It's an emergency situation. Domestic issue? He asks, professional and discreet. Something like that. He can be there by noon. Perfect. Then I call my sister. Lucy, it happened. They gave me the ultimatum last night. Both of them, standing in my entryway like they owned the place. Lucy's laugh is sharp and utterly without humor. Oh, this is going to be good. Are you ready to do this? I've been ready since you showed me those forged signature attempts. I want him out, Lucy. I want him gone. And I want everyone to know exactly what he tried to do. I've already drafted everything, Lucy says, and I can hear papers shuffling in the background. Eviction notice, no trespass order if needed, and a formal complaint to the state bar about the attorney who helped him with those fraudulent document consultations. That lawyer is going to lose his license. What about Agnes? Agnes Sinclair is about to discover that being an accessory to real estate fraud is not, in fact, a Pinterest-worthy life choice. She's been living in that fantasy where she's the sophisticated woman winning the successful man. Wait until she finds out the successful man is actually a fraud attempting to steal his wife's house. I allow myself a small smile. There's one more thing. Those boxes she stored in my garage? I'm having them removed today. Where are they going? Goodwill. Donation pickup is scheduled for 2 p.m. Lucy actually laughs. You're vicious. I love it. The locksmith arrives at exactly noon on Wednesday, a cheerful man named Carl who takes one look at my face and doesn't ask questions. By 12:45, every lock in the house has been changed. New keys sit in my palm, solid and real in mine. You want me to take the old locks with me? Carl asks. Sometimes in domestic situations, it's better if the old keys just disappear. Please, I say, and I tip him extra for his discretion. At 2 p.m., the Goodwill truck arrives. 3 large boxes from my garage, Agnes's boxes, get loaded up and driven away. The driver gives me a receipt for tax purposes. I fold it carefully and tuck it in my pocket. Evidence that I gave her belongings to charity rather than destroying them. Lucy said that distinction might matter later. At 2:30, Nathaniel texts me, working late tonight. Don't wait up. Want to give you space to start packing anyway. Space to start packing. How considerate. He's probably with Agnes right now, celebrating their impending cohabitation. Maybe they're at that wine bar in the Pearl District, toasting to new beginnings and successful manipulation. I text back, no problem. Take your time. What Nathaniel doesn't know is that while he's out celebrating, I'm upstairs in our bedroom, methodically packing his belongings. Not mine. His. Every suit, every tie, every pair of shoes. I'm folding them carefully, respectfully even, into the suitcases he used for our honeymoon in Vancouver 9 years ago. There's something poetic about that. I'm not angry as I pack. That's the strange part. I'm calm, methodical. Each folded shirt is a small act of reclamation. Each boxed item is evidence that I'm done being the accommodating wife who lets her husband take credit for her inheritance. Thursday morning. Nathaniel comes home around 8 a.m., looking rumpled and guilty. Sorry, he says, not meeting my eyes. Lost track of time. Have you started packing? I have, I say truthfully. Most of it's done, actually. His relief is palpable. That's great, Marianne, really. I know this isn't easy, but you're handling it so well. Like I'm a child being praised for taking medicine. When do you think you'll be out? He asks, pouring coffee from the pot I made an hour ago. My coffee, in my kitchen, in my house. By tonight, I say. Like we agreed, Nathaniel's phone buzzes. He glances at it and smiles. That private smile I used to think was for me. Agnes wants to know if she can come by tomorrow to start measuring for furniture. Is that okay? Sure, I say. She should definitely come by tomorrow. I think she'll find it very informative. He misses the edge in my voice completely. You're being really mature about this, he says again, like maturity is my consolation prize for losing my marriage and my home, except I'm not losing anything. That's the beautiful part. Thursday afternoon, I'm having coffee with Lucy at her apartment when I finally let myself feel it. Not the anger, I've been living with that for 3 weeks. But the hurt. The betrayal that goes deeper than stolen property or forged documents. He looked at me this morning, I tell Lucy quietly. And he thanked me for handling this maturely, like I was being cooperative about my own destruction. Lucy reaches across the table and squeezes my hand. You know that's not what's happening, right? You're not being destroyed. You're protecting yourself. I know. But it still hurts. 9 years, Lucy. 9 years of thinking we were building something together, and he was just waiting for the right moment to take it all. I know, Lucy says. And you're allowed to be hurt. You're allowed to grieve what you thought you had. But don't let that grief make you doubt what you're doing. Nathaniel made his choice. He chose fraud and betrayal. You're choosing to protect what's rightfully yours. She's right. I know she's right. But there's still a part of me that wishes things were different. That wishes Nathaniel was different. That wish will fade. But right now, sitting in Lucy's apartment with my life packed into 3 suitcases, I let myself feel it. Just for a moment. Thursday evening, Nathaniel comes home early, looking pleased with himself. Agnes and I want to take you to dinner, he announces. As a thank you for being so reasonable. We thought it might be nice to part on good terms. Dinner. They want to take me to dinner as a thank you for letting them steal my house. The audacity is breathtaking. That's very thoughtful, I say. And I mean it in a way he doesn't understand. It's very thoughtful of him to keep digging this hole deeper. But I already have plans with Lucy tonight. Maybe another time. Sure, Nathaniel says, already distracted by his phone. So you'll be completely moved out tonight? Everything's taken care of, I assure him. And it is. Just not the way he thinks. At 7 p.m., I load exactly 3 suitcases into my car. My clothes, my grandmother's jewelry, my laptop and important documents. Everything else, all the furniture and dishes and memories, stays exactly where it belongs. In my house. I drive to Lucy's apartment in the Pearl District, the nice 1-bedroom she bought last year with her lawyer salary. She opens the door with a bottle of wine and a smile that's pure predatory satisfaction. Ready for tomorrow? She asks. More than ready. Friday morning, 9 a.m. Nathaniel texts me. Agnes and I are heading to the house now. She's so excited to start measuring and planning. Thanks again for being so cool about everything. I'm sitting in Lucy's office, 23 floors up in downtown Portland, watching rain streak the windows. My coffee is still hot. My sister is reviewing documents with the focused intensity of a surgeon preparing for a complicated procedure. He's on his way, I tell her. Lucy doesn't look up from her papers. Perfect. The sheriff should be arriving at the house in about 15 minutes. I scheduled it precisely. The sheriff. Because what Nathaniel doesn't know, what he's about to discover in the most humiliating way possible, is that you can't just move into someone else's house and claim it as your own, even if you're married to the owner. Even if you've been lying about ownership for 5 years, especially not when the actual owner has filed a formal eviction notice. At 9:17, my phone rings. Nathaniel. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Marianne. His voice is tight, confused with an undertone of rising panic. There are police at the house. They're saying I can't enter. They're saying this is your property and I'm trespassing. That's correct, I say calmly. Silence. Then, what are you talking about? This is our house. I've lived here for 5 years. You've lived in my house for 5 years, I correct. The house my grandmother left me, the house that has only my name on the deed, the house you've been telling everyone you bought but never actually owned. More silence. I can hear Agnes in the background, her voice shrill. What's happening? Why won't they let us in? Marianne, this is insane. You can't just lock me out of my own home. Your home, I repeat. Nathaniel, when exactly did you think this became your home? Was it when you started consulting lawyers about how to fraudulently remove my name from the deed? Was it when you forged my signature on refinancing applications? Or was it when you decided to evict me from my own inheritance so you could move your mistress in? The silence that follows is profound. I can practically hear his brain catching up, realizing that I know, that I've known, that every moment of compliance over the past 3 days was theater. How did you... He starts. My sister is a property lawyer, Nathaniel. Did you really think you could attempt real estate fraud in this city without someone in Lucy's firm noticing? Those document requests went through the county system. They leave trails. And did you really never look at a single property document in 5 years? Never once checked to see whose name was actually on the deed? This is a misunderstanding, Nathaniel says, his voice shifting into that reasonable tone he uses with difficult clients. Let's just talk about this like adults. Can you come to the house? No, I don't think I will. But the sheriff's deputy has some documents for you. I suggest you read them carefully, particularly the eviction notice and the no trespass order that prevents you from entering the property or attempting any further fraudulent claims. No trespass order? Marianne, you're overreacting. Am I? Because from where I'm sitting, you gave me a 24-hour ultimatum to leave my own house so you could install your affair partner in my grandmother's home. You attempted to steal my property through legal fraud. You forged documents with my signature. Which part of that am I overreacting to? Agnes's voice in the background, louder now. This is insane. He owns this house. I've seen the mortgage statements. There is no mortgage, I say clearly, loudly enough that Agnes can hear. The house was paid off when my grandmother died. The property taxes Nathaniel claimed he was paying? I've been paying those from my separate account for 5 years. Every utility bill, every repair, every cost has come from my inheritance money while Nathaniel spent his income on hotels and jewelry for you. Nathaniel has contributed exactly nothing to this property except his presence. You're lying, Agnes says, apparently having grabbed Nathaniel's phone. Nathaniel would never lie about something like this. He's successful. He's a fraud, I interrupt. And you're complicit in attempted theft. Did you really think you could move into stolen property without consequences? Did you check any documents? Look at any deeds? The property records are public, Agnes. You could have verified ownership in 5 minutes. But you didn't, because you wanted to believe the fantasy. You wanted to believe you were moving into a successful man's beautiful house. You never bothered to check if he actually owned it. The line goes dead. They've hung up. Or maybe the sheriff's deputy has asked them to step away while he explains the legal situation. Either way, I'm done talking. Lucy's phone rings at 9:47. She glances at the screen and grins. It's Deputy Morrison. He said he'd call after serving the papers. She puts it on speaker. Deputy Morrison, thank you for calling. How did it go? Ms. Howard, I've been doing this job for 12 years, and I have never seen 2 people more shocked in my entire career. The deputy sounds almost amused. The husband kept insisting he owned the property. The girlfriend was actually crying about furniture she'd already bought. I had to explain 3 times that the deed is solely in your client's name and has been since 2019. Did they leave the property? Lucy asks, eventually. The husband tried to argue that he had tenant rights, so I explained that tenants don't attempt to fraudulently transfer deeds. That shut him up pretty quick. They're both sitting in his car now, parked on the street, looking like someone ran over their dog. Thank you, Deputy. Please send the confirmation that service was completed. Already done. And Ms. Howard? Your client should be aware that the girlfriend was asking about boxes she'd stored in the garage. Said they contained valuable items. Just thought you should know in case that becomes an issue. Lucy and I exchange glances. Those boxes were donated to Goodwill on Wednesday, Lucy says smoothly. Mrs. Howard has the donation receipt. The items were left in her garage without permission, and she properly disposed of them through legal channels. Smart, Deputy Morrison says. That should cover it legally. Good luck with everything. After Lucy hangs up, she turns to me with satisfaction radiating from every pore. How does it feel? Surreal, I admit. 5 years of him taking credit for my house, my inheritance, my grandmother's legacy. And it's over in one morning. It's not quite over, Lucy says, pulling out another folder. Now comes the fun part. I've filed formal complaints against the attorney who advised Nathaniel on the fraudulent transfer. That man is going to lose his license. And I've sent copies of all the forged documents to the district attorney's office. Criminal charges? Attempted real estate fraud is a felony in Oregon, Marianne. Nathaniel could face up to 5 years in prison. Realistically, since this is his first offense and he didn't actually succeed in transferring the property, he'll probably get a plea deal. But it'll still be on his record. And his employer is going to find out. My phone starts buzzing. Text after text from Nathaniel. This is crazy. You're being vindictive. We can work this out. Let's just talk. I never actually filed those documents. It was just consultation. Agnes has nowhere to go. You're being cruel. Please, Marianne. Don't do this. I don't respond to any of them. Instead, I forward them all to Lucy, who adds them to her file with the efficiency of someone who does this professionally. At 11:30, a different number calls. I don't recognize it, but I answer anyway. Mrs. Howard? A woman's voice, professional and crisp. This is Sabrina Castell from Castell Marketing Group. I'm the managing partner and Nathaniel's employer. I need to speak with you about a serious situation involving your husband. Of course, I say, genuinely curious. We've just been informed by legal counsel that Nathaniel has been involved in an attempted property fraud case. Our firm has policies about employee conduct, and this raises serious concerns. I need to verify some information with you directly. For the next 10 minutes, I explained to Sabrina Castell that I had no knowledge of Nathaniel's fraud attempts, that my name appears on the deed solely, and that I've never authorized any transfers or refinancing of the property. Mrs. Howard, I need to ask you something else. Our business attorney flagged some irregularities in our office lease. Your name appears on several documents related to our business operations. Were you aware of this? My stomach drops. No, what documents? It appears Nathaniel listed you as a co-guarantor on our office lease 3 years ago. Also on several client contracts. If you weren't aware of these arrangements, we have a significant problem. Co-guarantor. My name. On contracts I never signed. On a business lease I never agreed to. Ms. Castell, I think you should speak with my attorney. I hand the phone to Lucy, who's already reaching for it with the expression of a shark smelling blood in the water. For the next 20 minutes, I listen to Lucy professionally dismantle whatever business arrangements Nathaniel has been making in my name. Apparently, being married to someone doesn't give them the right to forge your signature on commercial leases. Who knew? When Lucy finally hangs up, she's actually laughing. Marianne, your husband is an idiot. He's been using your name and credit to guarantee his business expenses for years. Without your knowledge or consent. That's fraud on top of fraud. How much trouble is he in? Professionally? He's about to be terminated from his firm. They can't afford to keep an employee who commits fraud. Legally? I'd say he's looking at multiple felony charges, though again, probably plea bargained down. Financially? Lucy's smile could cut glass. Everything he owns is about to become community property in a divorce, which means you're entitled to half. Except you already own the only asset that matters. He's going to walk away from this marriage with nothing but debt and legal bills. My phone rings again. Nathaniel. I answer this time. They fired me, he says, his voice hollow. Castell Marketing just fired me. They said I committed fraud by using your name without authorization on company documents. Marianne, I'm going to lose everything. You were already planning to take everything from me, I point out. You were going to steal my house, Nathaniel. My grandmother's house. The only thing she left me. You were building a legal case to claim it was yours. I wasn't going to steal it. I just thought, we're married, what's yours is mine. That's not how inheritance law works in Oregon. And you know it, because you consulted 3 different attorneys about it. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? Did you really never look at a single property document in 5 years? Never once verify that your name was actually on anything? Silence. I thought it was understood, he says finally. I thought after 5 years of marriage, of living there, of maintaining the property. You never maintained anything, Nathaniel. I paid every bill. Every repair, every property tax payment came from my separate account, the one you never asked about because you assumed I was just putting my inheritance money into our general fund. But I kept it separate. I always kept it separate. And that house was never yours. More silence. Then, Agnes left. She's gone. She said she can't be involved in this, that she didn't know about any fraud. Smart woman, getting out before she becomes more complicit than she already is. Where am I supposed to go, Marianne? That's my home. It was never your home, I say quietly. It was always mine. You just got comfortable in it. Comfortable enough to lie about it. Comfortable enough to try to steal it. Comfortable enough to evict me from my own property so you could move your mistress in. I made a mistake, Nathaniel says, and for the first time he sounds genuinely broken. A huge mistake. I was selfish and stupid, and I hurt you in ways I can't take back. Can't we just talk about this? Can't we figure something out? Figure out what, Nathaniel? How you're going to avoid criminal charges for attempted fraud. That's between you and the district attorney. How you're going to explain to your next employer why you were fired for forging documents. That's your problem. How you're going to find somewhere to live. Well, you should have thought about that before you tried to evict me from my own house. I don't have anywhere to go, he repeats. My parents live in Florida. I can't afford a hotel for more than a few days. And with the firing, I don't have income. You could try asking Agnes if she has room in her apartment, I suggest. Oh, wait, she gave notice on that lease, didn't she? Because she was so certain she'd be moving into my house. The cruelty in my voice surprises even me. But I can't stop it. Every word is a small revenge for the 3 weeks I spent knowing he was planning to steal from me. For the 9 years I spent thinking we were partners while he was just waiting for the right moment to take what was mine. Marianne, please. I know I don't deserve your help, but I'm begging you. Can I at least come to the house and get my clothes? My work files? Your clothes are already packed, I say. 3 suitcases worth. They're in the garage. You can pick them up this evening between 6 and 7 p.m. I'll have Lucy there to supervise. You'll have 15 minutes to load your car and leave. That's it? 15 minutes? Marianne, I have 9 years of belongings in that house. You have 3 suitcases, I correct. Everything else was mine before we got married or was purchased with my money. The furniture? My grandmother's or bought with my inheritance. The dishes? Wedding gifts to me. The artwork? Mine. You're getting your personal clothing and your work laptop. That's all you're entitled to. This is insane, Nathaniel says. But there's no fight left in his voice. Just resignation. You're really going to do this. You're really going to destroy my life over one mistake. One mistake, I repeat. Nathaniel, you spent 6 months planning to commit fraud. You consulted multiple attorneys. You forged my signature on documents. You told your mistress she could redecorate my house. You gave me a 24-hour ultimatum to leave my own property. Which part of that was one mistake? No answer. Here's what's going to happen. I continue, and my voice is calmer now. Clinical. You're going to pick up your belongings tonight. You're going to find somewhere else to live. You're going to cooperate with the district attorney's investigation and take whatever plea deal your lawyer can negotiate. And you're going to sign divorce papers when Lucy files them next week. If you do all of that without fighting, I won't pursue additional charges. If you make this difficult, I'll make sure every detail of your attempted fraud becomes public record. I'll make sure every real estate firm in Portland knows exactly what you tried to do. Do you understand? I understand, he says quietly. Good. 6 p.m. tonight. Don't be late. I hang up before he can respond. Lucy looks at me with an expression I can't quite read. Are you okay? I don't know, I admit. I thought I'd feel satisfied, victorious. But mostly I just feel tired. That's normal, Lucy says. You're not a cruel person, Marianne. You're just protecting yourself. There's a difference, is there? Because I just told my husband of 9 years that he has 15 minutes to collect his belongings before I lock him out of his life forever. He tried to steal your house, Lucy reminds me gently. He forged your signature on legal documents. He was planning to make you homeless so he could move his mistress into your grandmother's home. You're not being cruel. You're being clear about boundaries. There's a difference. Maybe she's right. Maybe I'm just exhausted from 3 weeks of pretending I didn't know, from playing the oblivious wife while planning my counterattack. Maybe later, when the dust settles, I'll feel something other than this hollow victory. But right now, sitting in Lucy's office watching rain streak the windows, I just feel empty. At 6 p.m., I'm standing in my grandmother's driveway with Lucy beside me when Nathaniel's car pulls up. He looks worse than I've ever seen him. Unshaven, wrinkled clothes, eyes red from what might be tears or might just be exhaustion. Agnes is not with him. "Smart woman." "You have 15 minutes, Lucy says, checking her watch with professional precision. "Mrs. Howard has packed your personal belongings into 3 suitcases in the garage. You may take those and nothing else." Nathaniel looks at me like he's seeing me for the first time. "Marianne." 14 minutes, Lucy interrupts. He doesn't try again. Just walks to the garage, loads the 3 suitcases into his car with mechanical efficiency, and returns to stand in front of me one last time. "I really am sorry," he says, "for all of it. I know that doesn't matter now, but I need you to know I'm sorry." "Okay," I say. Because what else is there to say? Nathaniel gets in his car and drives away. And just like that, 9 years of marriage ends in a driveway on a rainy Friday evening in November. Lucy squeezes my shoulder. "You did the right thing." "Then why doesn't it feel right?" "Because you're human," she says. "And humans don't enjoy watching people self-destruct, even when they deserve it. Come on, let's go inside. Your house is waiting for you." My house. Finally, completely, undeniably mine. 3 months later, I'm sitting in my grandmother's kitchen. The same kitchen where this all started, except now it feels different. Lighter, like the house itself is breathing easier without Nathaniel's presence. The divorce was finalized last week. Nathaniel signed everything Lucy put in front of him, probably because his attorney explained that fighting would only make the criminal charges worse. He walked away with his car, his clothes, and approximately $40,000 in debt from legal fees. The criminal charges were eventually reduced through a plea bargain. First offense, cooperation with investigators, and the fact that he didn't actually succeed in transferring the property all worked in his favor. He ended up with a misdemeanor, fraud conviction, 18 months probation, 200 hours of community service, and a permanent mark on his record. No jail time, but enough consequences to make sure he thinks twice before trying something like this again. The attorney who advised him on the fraudulent transfer attempts lost his license, just like Lucy predicted. Turns out helping clients commit fraud is frowned upon by the State Bar Association. I kept the house, obviously. Also kept my grandmother's furniture, the savings account I'd maintained separately for 5 years, and my dignity. Castell Marketing settled with me privately for $75,000 after it became clear that Nathaniel had been forging my signature on business documents for 3 years. They couldn't afford the publicity of a lawsuit, and honestly, I couldn't afford to care about revenge more than I cared about financial security. The money went straight into my savings account, another piece of security that's entirely mine. Agnes Sinclair, as it turns out, moved back to Seattle within 2 weeks of the eviction incident. I heard through a mutual acquaintance that she'd been posting on social media about toxic situations and dodging bullets and trusting your intuition. The irony of a woman who tried to move into a stolen house calling someone else toxic wasn't lost on anyone who knew the real story. She never got her boxes back from Goodwill. Never even asked about them, as far as I know. Maybe she realized that pursuing that would mean admitting she'd been complicit in Nathaniel's scheme. Nathaniel himself disappeared from Portland's social circles entirely. Last I heard, he'd moved to Sacramento and was working for a small marketing firm at about half his previous salary. The fraud conviction made it hard to find work in his field, and the professional reputation he'd spent years building was gone overnight. I don't feel bad about that. I tried to, in those first few weeks after everything fell apart. I tried to feel guilty for destroying his career, his finances, his life. But every time I started to feel guilty, I remembered him standing in my grandmother's entryway with Agnes on his arm, telling me I had 24 hours to leave my own house. The guilt never quite took hold after that. My sister Lucy stops by most Sundays now. We drink coffee in the breakfast nook, and she tells me about her cases, careful never to mention Nathaniel unless I bring him up first. "You seem different," she said last Sunday, studying me over her mug. "Calmer, more settled." "I spent 9 years accommodating someone who was planning to steal from me," I replied. "Now I don't have to accommodate anyone." "How does that feel?" "Lonely sometimes," I admitted. "But also free. I can make decisions without checking with someone who might secretly resent them. I can plan my future without worrying that someone's planning to take it from me. It's lonely, but it's honest. And honest is better than whatever Nathaniel and I had." Lucy nodded. "You know he tried to contact me last week? Asked if I'd be willing to talk to you about reconciliation." "What did you tell him?" "I told him that bridge isn't just burned, it's demolished. Foundation and all." I smiled. "Good." The house feels like mine now in a way it never did when Nathaniel lived here. I've repainted my grandmother's bedroom in soft gray instead of the beige Nathaniel preferred. I've planted herbs in the backyard garden that he always said was too much maintenance. I've replaced the modern furniture he insisted on buying with vintage pieces from estate sales that actually match the house's 1920s character. Last month, I started teaching workshops at the community center on historic home preservation. Turns out there's a whole community of people in Portland who love old houses and want to learn how to care for them properly. I teach them about original hardwood floors, period-appropriate landscaping, vintage fixture restoration. It's become more than just a hobby. I'm consulting with other homeowners now, writing articles for local architecture magazines, even considering starting a small business focused on historic property consulting. My grandmother's legacy isn't just a house anymore. It's becoming something larger, a passion, a purpose, a career. Nathaniel would probably say I'm only able to do this because he's not here anymore, taking up space and demanding attention. And he'd be right, but not in the way he'd mean it. A few weeks ago, I ran into Nathaniel at a coffee shop downtown. Pure chance. I was meeting a client to discuss her 1930s bungalow restoration, and he was there with someone I didn't recognize. He looked smaller somehow, diminished. The confidence that used to radiate from him was gone, replaced by something that looked like permanent exhaustion. When he saw me standing in line, his face went through several expressions in rapid succession: guilt, shame, something that might have been longing. "Marianne," he said, leaving his companion at their table to approach me. "How are you?" "I'm well," I said truthfully. "The house is beautiful this time of year. The garden is really coming along." He flinched. "Good. I never meant for things to end the way they did," he said quietly. "I know you probably don't believe me, but I did love you once." "Once," I repeated. "That's the key word, isn't it? Once before you decided my inheritance was yours to claim. Once before you tried to steal my home. Once before you decided your affair partner's Pinterest boards were more important than 9 years of marriage." "I made mistakes," Nathaniel admitted. "Huge mistakes. I was selfish and stupid, and I hurt you in ways I can't take back." "You're right," I agreed. "You can't take it back. But you did teach me something valuable." "What's that?" "That being accommodating isn't the same as being kind. That letting someone take credit for your success doesn't make you generous. It makes you invisible. That sometimes the cruelest thing you can do to yourself is pretend you don't see betrayal coming." Nathaniel looked at me for a long moment. "You were always smarter than I gave you credit for." "I know," I said simply. "Enjoy your coffee, Nathaniel." I walked away before he could respond, and I didn't look back. My client was waiting, and we had a beautiful 1930s bungalow to discuss. My life was waiting, and Nathaniel Howard had already taken up enough of my time. 6 months after the divorce, I'm teaching a workshop at the community center on historic home preservation. 15 people sit in folding chairs, taking notes as I explain the proper way to restore original hardwood floors without damaging the wood's integrity. This is my life now. I've turned my grandmother's legacy into something more than just a house I inherited. I've become an advocate for historic preservation, consulting with other homeowners in the neighborhood, teaching classes, writing articles for local architecture magazines. The house isn't just mine anymore in a legal sense. It's mine in every sense. I know every corner of it, every quirk and characteristic. I've stopped seeing it as a responsibility and started seeing it as a gift. After the workshop, a woman approaches me. She's younger, maybe 30, with nervous energy and a wedding ring she keeps twisting around her finger. "Ms. Howard," she says quietly, "I wanted to thank you for the class, but also, I need advice about something else. My husband keeps talking about refinancing our house, but something feels off. He gets angry when I ask to see the paperwork. Is that normal?" I look at this woman, at the anxiety in her eyes, and I see myself 5 years ago, accommodating, trusting, not wanting to seem paranoid or controlling by asking too many questions. "No," I tell her firmly. "That's not normal, and you need to check the deed on your house right now, today. Go to the county records office and verify whose name is on that property. Don't wait. Don't assume. Don't let anyone tell you you're being dramatic." Her eyes widen. "You think he's trying to—" I think you need to verify the facts before you trust assumptions. And if something feels off, it probably is. I pull out one of Lucy's business cards from my wallet. "This is my sister. She's a property lawyer who specializes in real estate fraud. Call her, today. Tell her I sent you." She takes the card with trembling fingers. "Thank you. I've been feeling crazy, like I'm being paranoid." You're not paranoid if your instincts are telling you something's wrong. Trust yourself. Verify everything, and protect what's yours. She leaves with determination in her shoulders that wasn't there before. I watch her go and I feel something I haven't felt in months. Purpose. The knowledge that my experience, as painful as it was, might help someone else avoid the same trap. I've learned things about myself in these 6 months that I never knew during 9 years of marriage. I've learned that I have a talent for public speaking, that I genuinely love teaching, that I'm happier alone than I ever was accommodating someone else's ego. I've learned that betrayal clarifies everything. All the small compromises, the little concessions, the ways I made myself smaller to make Nathaniel feel bigger. They're all visible now in hindsight, like a map of how I lost myself. But I've also learned that you can find yourself again. That reclaiming your space, your property, your life isn't selfish. It's survival. And I've learned that power doesn't come from being nice. It comes from being prepared, from knowing what's yours and being willing to fight for it, from setting boundaries and enforcing them, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. My phone buzzes with a text from Lucy. "Dinner tonight?" "I'm buying. We're celebrating." "Celebrating what?" I text back. "Your consulting business officially hit 6 figures in contracts this year. You're successful on your own terms?" Successful on my own terms. Not because someone gave me credit. Not because I was accommodating enough or quiet enough or small enough. Because I built something real from the foundation of my grandmother's legacy and the clarity that comes from surviving betrayal. That evening, sitting across from Lucy at our favorite restaurant, she raises her wine glass. "To new beginnings," she says. "To new beginnings," I echo. But in my head, I'm thinking something different. To old houses and new boundaries. To grandmothers who leave legacies worth fighting for. To sisters who know property law and aren't afraid to use it. To 24-hour ultimatums that backfire spectacularly. To discovering you're stronger than you. Thought when someone forces you to choose between accommodation and self-preservation. To women who verify the deed before trusting the promise. Nathaniel gave me 24 hours to leave my own house. What he actually gave me was 24 hours to remember who I was before I started shrinking myself to fit his narrative. Some people think revenge is about destruction, but real justice the kind that actually heals you, isn't about destroying someone else. It's about refusing to be destroyed. It's about looking at someone who's trying to take everything from you and saying, "No, this is mine. It was always mine, and you never had the power you thought you had." The truth is, Nathaniel did me a favor with his ultimatum. He forced me to choose between being a victim and being someone who fights for what's rightfully hers. Between staying quiet about fraud and demanding accountability, between accepting disrespect and walking away with everything I owned, I chose power. I chose boundaries. I chose myself. And it turns out that choosing yourself, protecting what's yours, refusing to accommodate betrayal, that's not selfish. That's not cruel. That's just finally understanding that you can't pour from an empty cup, and you can't build a life on someone else's lies. I own my house. I own my business. I own my story. Nathaniel thought he was giving me an ultimatum. What he actually gave me was clarity. And clarity, it turns out, is the most valuable gift an unfaithful husband can offer. Some bridges don't get rebuilt. They get demolished completely, and something better gets built in their place. Something that belongs entirely to you. Something no one can take away because you verified the deed, set the boundaries, and learned the most important lesson of all. Never let someone else define what's yours. 24 hours. That's all Nathaniel gave me. It was exactly enough time to take back everything. Ready for more? If this episode resonated with you, these next ones are absolute must-watches. Simply click the subscribe button.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.